Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the September edition of our monthly Startup Resources series. We are so glad to have you. We've got a great crowd this morning who have joined us. Welcome. I'm Lisa Bajornes, Executive Director of our Kentucky Innovation Hubs with KSTC, and in partnership, of course, with our friends over at KY Innovation and the Cabinet for Economic Development. We are so glad that you're here for another great session in supporting your startup clients. For those of you that are series subscribers, again, welcome back. We're glad to have you. For those of you that are new, welcome as well, and we'll give you a quick rundown of our agenda today. I will be providing some of the cabinet updates that we want to share, a couple of announcements for you to be aware of. And then we're going to have a really great speaker this morning on our topic, which is something fairly new. And I look forward to hearing more from Stefan with Startup Slates. And with that, we also have a hub highlight. We're going to be hearing later today from our Sprocket Innovation Hub over on the west side of the state. As always, go ahead and drop any questions that you might have for our speaker in the chat, and I'll be moderating that as we go through today's topic. I do have a couple of announcements. First of all, we're very sad to say goodbye to Casey Hicks. Casey has been our hub director in the SOAR region in the eastern part of the state, representing most of Appalachia over there. Casey has been instrumental in launching their Startup Appalachia Accelerator program, as well as a number of other additional programs. So we are sorry to see Casey go at the end of the week, and we wish you the very best always. On the other side, we want to welcome Tim Wolter. Tim is the new Entrepreneur in Residence, or EIR, with our Amplify Innovation Hub. They're representing both the Louisville area all the way down to Elizabethtown. And we're super excited to have Tim, who is actually going to be an EIR supporting the Elizabethtown and Hardin County regions and surrounding counties. So welcome to Tim. All righty. With that, we're going to continue on. I just want to send out a quick reminder. If ever you want to go back and view any of our past Startup Resources series webinars, we do keep a library of those. You can just go to kstc.com, click on the initiatives menu. You'll see Innovation Hubs there. Scroll down and you can click on the resources series. We've got each month there. You can view those recordings and go back to topics which are identified there if you like, anytime. All right, David Brock is not able to be with us today, but he did pass along two reminders that I just want to let you know about. First of all, please be aware as you're working with your research and innovation-led startups that the fall SBIR, STTR matching funds application round is open. So if any of your startup clients have received federal SBIR, which is Small Business Innovation Research, or STTR, Small Business Tech Transfer Research federal grants, if they have received a federal grant, they are eligible to apply for a Kentucky matching grant. So that application period is open now. Please do encourage them to double the amount of funding potentially that they may have raised from their non-dilutive grant from federal government, from the SBA. They have an opportunity to match that at the state level. So good money there. Second reminder from the cabinet for all of you is that businesses that would like to claim Kentucky Small Business Tax Credit for the current tax year, they should apply by November 1st in order to guarantee your review, their review of their application. So anyone interested in applying for the Kentucky Small Business Tax Credit Program should do that by November 1st to guarantee review. Both of these programs have more information on kyinnovation.com. So take a look at that information and certainly refer your startup clients there for any additional info. So that's what I have on behalf of the cabinet. And we are going to jump right on into it. So I am super excited to have Stefan, I'm going to say this hopefully correctly, Kwiecinski, who is, get this, pitch wizard as well as founder of Superslates. And here's what we know. We know that raising capital isn't just about the numbers. We talk a lot about really great storytelling, and we're really doubling down on excellent storytelling because it's also about the narrative that a founder or founders is portraying about their business. And we know, as we look at a lot of investment thesis of various different investor groups, that they don't just simply invest in an idea. Investors are going to look at the stories that inspire, that connect, that really stick with them, that resonates with that particular investor or that investment group or that particular fund. So in all of this, the right story paired with really strong and compelling visuals can turn a pitch deck into a very powerful tool for our startup clients. And that is certainly what is going to set any of our early stage companies that are raising around apart from all of the many other deals that an investor or a group is taking a look at. So the importance of this cannot be underscored, I don't think, enough. But we are super excited to have Stefan with us, who is, as he says, pitch wizard in this realm, and is going to talk to us about how we can help to coach our startup clients to understanding the power and the need for great storytelling, great visuals that has to go, paired up and in tandem with the wonderful numbers, hopefully, that they can project and to convey. So with that, I'm going to turn this right on over to Stefan. Stefan, if you want to share your desktop, you can do that. I will stop sharing. Should have done that earlier. There you
Yeah,
go.
sure thing.
Great. While you're doing that, just a reminder, anybody who's got questions for Stefan, just drop those in the chat and I will take a look at those and we will be able to get those answered for you.
Is it showing the full
Yeah, we
screen
can see
view?
your screen. Mm-hmm.
Is it showing the full screen view or just still in PowerPoint?
It's your screen.
Okay. Are we in the PowerPoint interface
Yes,
still,
yeah,
or
we
is it
see
just
deck
the?
psychology. Uh-huh.
Okay. And if I switch the slide, then you can see the switching slide already?
Yes, we sure do.
Okay. Okay, good. Just making sure because sometimes Zoom is messes up with
Yes.
selecting a screen. Yeah, so my name's Stefan. I'm with Superslates. We are and today I'm here to talk about narrative and design, but you guys already know that good narrative is critical, good design is critical for a pitch deck. So instead I'm gonna go more into the perspective of investors and investor psychology and how if better understanding an investor's thought process can arm you guys with giving more actionable feedback to the startups that you mentor and advise. So a little bit about Superslates. We're pitch deck designers and narrative writers. We do everything from working with founders on content to market research, competitive analysis, and then translate, really making a killer narrative and then translating that into equally compelling design. Uh, I'm from Kentucky, from Richmond originally, and at this point, Super Slates has helped countless startups well, maybe not countless, maybe just dozens of startups across Kentucky raise multiple successful rounds, well over 100 million at this point. And then, of course, far beyond Kentucky to the rest of the US, and then more recently, some forays into Canada and the EU. So with that little bit of background out of the way, happy to answer any questions about, our process or what customers we generally work with later. But with that intro out of the way, let's just start with the sort of first thing you need to know when it comes to reviewing a startup pitch deck that you've been asked to give some feedback on, and that's that investors do not read decks like founders or advisors like yourself do. So there's a big reason for that, and that is because VCs make offers for just one out of every 60 pitches they see. So they're being flooded with decks, especially the larger, more institutional VCs. And so that doesn't mean you only have a 1 in 60 chance of a successful fundraise. It's a numbers game. You go out to as many investors as you can. But this statistic is important because it means that investors are automatically viewing any deck they see with the answer of probably not, probably no, and it's your job to prove them wrong. And that factors into how you tell the story and how you display the story. And this heavily factors into how they actually psychologically read your pitch deck. So when a founder or an advisor like you guys are reading a pitch deck, you're already bought into the mission. You're already, you know, mentally invested into the success of the company. So you're being super slow and methodical with how you consume this deck to give feedback to the founder. So you're going slide by slide and you're going line by line. You're consuming all the information. VCs couldn't be more different. Because they get so many decks, they are going fast and instinctual. They're skimming through these decks. They don't. You need to wake up their analytical brain. It's a good storytelling, good design is about moving them from the analytical, hurried, crazy process to the methodical. You have to say something to make them think, wow, or interesting, and to get them to start analyzing. You can think of this like founders and advisors are reading the deck like a book, line by line, consuming everything, whereas investors are flipping through slides like you might flip through a Netflix catalog. You don't really care about what you're seeing. You're just going off of instinct until you reach something that compels you. And only then are you actually going to read the full description of that movie, that show, or watch that trailer. So how does this total chasm in different approaches to viewing it translate into the actual structure of your deck? I'm not going to get into the weeds today of like all the storytelling, which slides you need. I've got a great resource for that that I'll present at the end. Instead, just kind of know 10 to 15 slides, as close to 10 as possible. And a lot of founders, they hate this. They push back on it. They're like, oh, but I have so much to say. To which then we always say, you can put as much as you want in the appendix. Anything that's not critical to your story, throw into the appendix. You can use that for Q&A. This is the forecaster deck. We've done 3-4 rounds successfully, oversubscribed with them now. And a little insider secret, there's another one coming for all the angel investors in the chat. So beyond the actual length and content, what types of slides should you be consuming? I mean, not presenting. Instead of going like slide by slide, problem solution, blah blah blah. There's really just two categories: why now, why you, and that's all that investors truly really care about. I mean, the part where founders get it wrong and where a lot of feedback, a lot of mentors and advisors get it on is they get too caught up on the what is it, because they're so excited about the idea already that they spend the whole deck just going into product details and explaining how great it is. But the investor just got your deck. They are not bought into the success of your company. They could be from a totally different region. They aren't maybe as bought into the regional startup ecosystem. And what they really care about is just why does this problem, why does your solution matter now? And why should you be the horse I bet on? And because it's generally kind of the easiest part is saying what it is. And then the next most difficult part would be why this matters. Why didn't somebody do it 10 years ago? Why are we doing it now instead of 5 years from now? But then the most difficult part is generally why you. And that can be just a killer team, or it can be killer traction. Nothing really speaks louder than traction, though. So that's sort of the overall deck structure. And then in terms of actually structuring the individual slides for how the investor's skimming, moving fast, scanning, here's some quick design tidbits that you can hopefully incorporate into feedback. So first off, don't overload. These are slides from the forecaster appendix. So we went a little more heavy on the text, but these would have been terrible in the body of it. Again, the founder and the mentor are willing to read this line by line, but the investor is just skimming. Even the people in this webinar right now are probably not reading all the lines. So what if your best piece of information is down here on the last paragraph, or like just buried somewhere in here? There's an incredibly high chance that they miss it. So instead, use less content to create white space, to create more discrete sections. So you don't have to be a designer to get a deck in and see it, tell them, hey, no, not like this. This isn't a white paper. This isn't a huge analysis report. This is a quick story. And again, a huge piece of advice that I always give is the deck doesn't need to include everything to close this deal. Decks do not close deals, very rarely so. Decks exist to earn you a conversation with the investors, to discuss things further and hopefully enter due diligence. So it's not about covering all your bases in the slide or in the presentation. It's just about getting them to think, huh, maybe they're onto something, and that's all that matters. So less content is more likely to get them through your story and be more compelled to think, oh, they're onto something. Every slide has a visual hierarchy. So in the Western world, that is generally left to right, top to bottom. So when you're looking at decks given to you by the startups that you mentor, just kind of track where your eyes go first. And does it go to the most important piece of information first or not? And an easy way to hit on that is just to go left to right, top to bottom. Here's another example. Left to right, that's the main key point. And we say forecaster is coming out of a sort of spinning out of Excel. Look at all these other success stories that came out of Excel. This visually would not have been so easily digestible if the Excel and forecaster graphic was on the right side, because they're not going to the right side and then moving over. At the same time, you can bend this left to right, side to side. If you're pitching in Arabic or Hebrew, then you're going to go the other direction. But more realistically, you can use accents, different colors, or different placement of larger pieces of text or smaller pieces of text. So here it's sort of left to right on the top, and then your eye jumps to the center, and then you go down there, then you go down here. So you don't necessarily need to be stressed about being like the expert designer when giving feedback of like, oh, this needs to go here, this needs to go this here. But everyone has like they can check in with themselves how their eyes are naturally following the page, and then cross-reference that with, is your eye following the right piece of information in the right order? Are you putting the most important stuff up front on this slide? Contrast. If you introduce contrast of colors and text, it can sometimes bend the hierarchy for worse. So this was an appendix slide that was added last minute and maybe wasn't the best. So yeah, left to right, but then it's like, where do we go here? Is the eye going down? Is the eye going right? And it's hard to plan for the eye to hit the right piece of information. What if the most important piece of information is 80% already use QuickBooks for accounting? They're maybe going to miss it or something. Maybe they'll only read this side, or maybe they'll only read this side. Easy to miss when they're only spending a short amount of time. Some quick do's and don'ts, because I maybe wanted to leave more time for questions. I'm not so sure how the webinar goes. But yeah, don't use unrelated eye candy. So eye candy is just things that look pretty to the eye, but it doesn't actually communicate anything. So this is a fake problem slide, and we're saying that, oh, Excel sucks because of these issues. And then we just throw in this stock graphic of a lady. She's not contributing anything to the story. It's a distraction. This is a piece of software. Instead, try and push them to make graphics that further reinforce the story. So here we say that it's built on this poor foundation. The talking point is that it's a poor foundation. This is poor crappy wall that's Excel cells that are falling apart. And I'm not saying that you need to. Some startups they can't maybe swing, especially in the earliest stages, swing a professional graphic designer to make fancy graphics. That's fine. Just do the best you can, and don't just throw stuff just to make it look pretty, because then the investor's having to fight through it. It's not like an advertisement where it has to catch the eye while they're walking by. They're already opening up the deck and just present the information as reinforced and clearly as possible. Do visualize data whenever possible. You guys probably already are thinking. Everybody knows this is better, but it's easy to miss when you're giving feedback. And also consider going beyond just PowerPoint charts. I mean, maybe make something a little custom if you're feeling creative. Don't use AI slop. Uh, if Imagine if this was the big reveal slide for the forecaster financial modeling application, and it's just this convoluted, crazy AI graphic in the middle. The investor's already not caring mind is getting hung up on this graphic. What's going on? What are all those charts? What are all those layers? And getting totally derailed. Um, Furthermore, if you don't even have a product yet, if you're pre-product, pre-mock-up, pre-everything, then this probably does more damage than good. It can make you seem a little bit unserious, because it's just, oh, all you've done to make your product is type in one line on ChatGPT and get an image. It's like, why should I give you $1 million for that? So instead, do your best to get something, photos of the scientific process, even if they're not like just crappy iPhone photos. Yeah, if you're in the early stages, you're not going to have a product, but like pay somebody to make some cheapo, just a couple screenshots, so they have a visual anchor of what they're dealing with, what they're going to put in money with, and it'll show that you are much more buttoned up and committed to the concept. Do also set up a basic brand, especially when it's maybe the first friends or family round. They might think, or like they're in stealth mode, they're not public with the product yet. They might think, oh, I don't need a brand. The product will just sell itself. But I'd say no. Going in without any sort of branding, any sort of consistent design style, is like going in your gym clothes to a pitch, or even worse, going in naked. You don't have to spend $10,000 on a great brand. Just push them to throw 50, $100 on Upwork in the earliest stages to get a consistent logo and style across all of the slides. And that also just makes things less mentally taxing on the investor of jumping between design styles. And it makes it more memorable because then they associate with more visual cues moving forward. And you can always redo the brand. You don't have to get it done nailed on the first time. I mean, Forecaster, when they did their first raise, it was called Crystal Ball, and then promptly abandoned right after they got the check-in and came up with Forecaster, and then overhauled the whole brand. So yeah, I wanted to be pretty quick. I fear I might have been too well. Oh wait, we got one more slide. Do consider having two versions of the deck. So maybe you might have a text heavy deck and a text light deck, meaning the text light deck would be the version that you talk over, like these slides that I'm talking over right now, where there's very little text on the slides. And because if you have a lot of text on it, every second that the VC or angel investor spends reading text, they're not listening to a single word you're saying. At the same time, there might be a lot of instances where you have to send out a PDF on its own. It's not really ideal, but in those cases, then yeah, you want to have a little bit more meat on the bones so that it can stand on its own a little bit. At the same time, you do not need all the text to win the deal, to convince them to give $1 million. That doesn't happen. You just need to be cool enough, interesting enough to earn a conversation moving forward. But honestly, this advice is changing a little bit, because now increasingly, where founders are sending out Loom pitches as their first rodeo, and it's only kind of the text light deck, or we're making our own app for sharing decks similar to Loom. But even then, there's a lot of use cases where the text heavy still works out. So yeah, that's all for today. I'm afraid I went maybe a little quick on time, but it's fine. It gets us time for questions.
That's okay. Yeah, we do have some questions. So one of the questions, and please, everyone, if you have one, go ahead, drop it in the chat. We'll make sure that we get it answered. We do have time for that. Stefan, when a founder may be submitting their deck to an investor that hopefully they have some sort of a relationship, we hope, with before they do that, rather than cold. What else should accompany the deck? Should there also be an executive summary that accompanies the deck? Is it just simply the deck and just a very short email to them? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, one pagers have kind of been a common thing, like a one pager executive summary. But honestly, your deck storytelling should be clear and succinct and compelling enough to probably stand on its own. But a lot of investors really ask for one pagers in their process. So it's never a bad thing to have, and it's never a bad thing to include. So just making a one or two sided US letter document that kind of boils down some key points. There's a lot of guides on that out there. But beyond that, I'd say maybe leaning more into just an easy to digest PDF and maybe even better yet, a loom of you talking over it if you're a confident speaker.
Hmm. Okay.
And
And we do have a question that came in. I like this concept for an aid for deck development. This particular person does need some help. So separate from the content and information you've shared for your particular business, Super Slates, interested in just high level, what might be the cost for your services?
oh yeah, I mean, so you can go to superslates.com/pricing. I'll drop it in the chat. We are admittedly not cheap, starts at around 2000, but I would say that uh, I'm always very aggressive on discounting for Kentucky startups. And so I'm happy to talk with anybody at any of the innovation hubs about aggressive discounting. But yeah, I dropped in the chat the link. Um, but frankly, I would say no startup should be uh, throwing heaps of money at a pitch deck when it's their first, trying to get their first few checks in the door. Your first few checks in the door is going to be hopefully folks in local regional support networks or mentors or friends and family, stuff like vote awards and stuff like that. So with you should be able to DIY something for that first, I'd say 100K or so. And it's only once you start raising serious money, million plus, that you should be talking to someone like us. Uh, Now, with that being said, we kind of recognize that it was a bit of a gap in our coverage. There's so many super early stage startups, especially the folks that you guys are talking to. That's why we have this awesome resource. It's called DIY Deck. You can go to, I'll drop it in the chat,
Okay.
superslates.com/DIY. It's tons and tons of template slides in Google Slides, Canva, PowerPoint, and Keynote, and guidance on all the different slide types, like wiki style guidance of where to place it, when to use it, what stage you need to use it, where it should go in the order, how do you tell a good story, how a lot of this investor psychology stuff as well is baked into it. And it's really easy to kind of make it match to your brand. So this is what I would push on folks that have yet to raise anything, and then maybe kind of work with something like a template like this, and then go to Fiverr, Upwork, and spend like
Hmm.
200-300 bucks on getting someone to make it real pretty with a new brand.
Yeah.
Um, and then yeah, it's gonna be really hard to use something like that to raise like serious tens of millions kind of stuff unless you're a veteran founder. But for that first few checks, it's a lot more personal, the process. So it's leaning more on your personal credibility.
Yeah. Great. Go ahead if there's any additional questions in the chat. We'll look for those.
Oh
It
wait,
is
did I
very
put like
helpful that you let us know what is, about the stage of a company when they would, seek your particular services. And then we certainly appreciate your recommendations for some other resources up until a startup would be at that, let's say, $1 million round that they're going to raise. So
Hmm.
that's very helpful.
Hmm.
Okay.
I mean, especially when you've yet to raise, if you've got only, I don't know, $5,000, $10,000 of personal savings to spend on your new venture, your new startup,
Yeah.
you need to prioritize getting some sort of, scrappy mock-ups to get consumer validation, or customer validation that this is something people want, so you can get some rough statistics in your deck that prove that people want it. And that's something that I'm working on adding to this DIY guide, some more stuff about the
Mm-hmm.
really, really early stages.
Great. All right. Um, I am not seeing any further questions, so I want to thank you so much, Stefan. We appreciate the aggressive discounting offer that you have provided. Very helpful. We will be certain to share that. And of course, if you are able to go ahead and send us your slides from this session following, we will make sure, as we always do, we email all of our attendees of the webinar series, and then we also will post that to our Slack as well. So we appreciate that.
Okay, yeah,
Very
happy to do
good.
so. Will do.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's great to come out.
Thank you. All right. As promised, next on our agenda, we are delighted to hear from Maggie Choate, who is Program Director with Sprocket. And again, Sprocket is the innovation hub in the western part of the state, located in the Paducah area. And we're going to hear the latest and greatest from Sprocket. And I will stop my share. And Maggie, there you go. We can see your slides. Welcome.
Perfect. Thanks, Lisa. Stefan, that was great. Now I'm over here like, oh, I wonder how my slides are looking. So I apologize ahead of time if they do not measure up. But I am the program director over at Sprocket. We are in far western Kentucky, as Lisa said. And we are on a mission to create, recruit, and grow scalable businesses for the digital and innovation economy. Really quickly, we have if you go to sprocketwky.com, we have a regional resource hub. It's really easy to use. And you can find some free courses and content and workshops on there. You can find a community of people it's like a discussion forum, so you can talk to people on there. Our mentor network is on there, and it's a really great resource of like 30 mentors, I believe, who are ready to help you out. And then if you want to learn more about our companies and the companies we've been working with and companies in the region, check out the regional news blog for sure. So that's just a little bit there. It's an easy way to kind of get plugged in quickly. Um, I wanted to mainly talk about our main startup program, which is the Sprocket Market Fit Lab. It's designed to take founders from business model design all the way to product market fit. You can join this program as early as an idea, and you can start as early as your business model. But if you're further along, we might plug and play you further past. So we use the lean stack methodology by Ash Moria, and we've divided that into 4 phases. And we have a phase 1. It's a little more self-serve, a little more you as the founder are committing your time and your energy to go through the curriculum um, and see what you can come up with. So and then we've got phase 2, phase 3, and phase 4, and those are going to be a lot more hands-on with our team, with our EIR. Our EIR works with you in every single phase, but his initiation is going to change dependent on each phase. So right now, we've got 37 teams across all 4 phases, and most of those being in phase 1, and I'll explain that here really quickly. But um, it's really cool seeing how we're able to get people interested into understanding what it means to build a business, build a startup. As you can see, the engagement level changes as it goes, but that's kind of the point of it. We have a high intake early on because we want to see how much of that how much work you're going to put into it, and that's going to filter down. We're working really hard on getting companies from other counties in our service region, and we just had a kind of an intro workshop out in Owensboro, and we got a couple companies out of there, and they're working on their businesses. And then most of our companies do come out of Paducah, and then we've got a few out of Mayfield actually, which is pretty cool. And so, yeah, it's a really, really cool process, and I highly recommend it. John does an incredible job. We have a monthly cohort meeting where all these founders get together and they really just dive deeper into some of that curriculum. They also get to meet each other and talk with each other. And that's really, really cool. I've gotten to see people become friends, talk about their companies, the things that they didn't know about each other, because they're all in completely different fields and industries. So it's a really, really cool experience to see that. And we've actually got a meeting Thursday this week, and we have a really cool company out of Colorado who's going to share kind of a little bit about that storytelling piece and about becoming subject matter experts to the public about your company. And so that's going to be cool. The other thing I wanted to share really quickly is congratulations to Mark Anderson. He is the founder of Santerre. He's the guy right here in the middle. And Mark, along with a few other companies in the state of Kentucky, obviously won the Bluegrass Ag Tech Challenge grant. They each got $100,000. Mark is out of Paducah, and he's really interesting because he actually moved back to Paducah a year or two ago now. He was doing humanitarian aid. He worked for Doctors Without Borders. He's one of the smartest guys I've ever met, and he is developing a Asian carp soil amendment. So one is developing quality fertilizer for farmers, and two is helping solve the Asian carp problem, which we have in our rivers here. And so he's helping with both of those things. So I just wanted to give him a quick little shout out. And yeah, we're really excited for what he's doing. On the note of Market Fit Lab and on the note of companies like Mark, if you are interested in that, if you're interested to see what that looks like, is that something that's a good fit for you? We are having a lunch and learn here at Sprocket in Paducah next Thursday, I think, and that'll be at lunchtime. And that'll give you a really good idea of kind of what it is Market Fit Lab is, explain kind of what John teaches you throughout the entire 4 phases, and how to get involved. So if you have really no idea or just really just are confused, then I would recommend going to this because it's a good way to not only meet us and the team and kind of talk to you, but also just get an idea of what our startup program is. So that's next Thursday. And I know Lisa's going to share out these slides, so you can RSVP on that QR code, or you can get my email from Lisa as well. Of course, we have our weekly coffee hour every single week. And next week, we're going to have Josiah. He actually it's been helping Sprocket with our growth strategy, marketing plan, things like that. But he's the founder of Optrivo, and he'll be sharing at coffee hour next week. So I'm very excited for that. So that is coffee hour. And then that is it. So if you want to get in contact with us, Monica's email is on the screen. Lisa obviously has my email. But yeah, that's Sprocket.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Maggie. Gosh, lots of great stuff happening. Congratulations on 37 teams currently participating in one of 4 different phases in the Market Fit Lab program. I know that's keeping John and all of you at the Sprocket team very busy. I really appreciated how you've broken that out among what counties they're coming from, how they're progressing through those various stages. So congratulations on all of that coming together. That is great news. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
And while we're sharing, I have one last thing to share with all of you, just some upcoming events and announcements to make sure that you all have on your calendar. There's lots happening in the month of September and into October, which is usual. Fall is a very busy time for all of our startup regions and all of our entrepreneurial support organizations. So a quick rundown. As Maggie said, every Wednesday at 8 a.m. Central Time over at Sprocket, they've got their coffee hour program. Also this week, are we on this week? Yes, we are. Create and the Regional Tech Council, it has their Emerge Tech Summit. So that's happening Wednesday at Western Kentucky. And then on Thursday, the SOAR team over in our Appalachian area is having their Founders in Formation legal clinic. So they brought in the folks from Frost Brown Todd who will answer those legal questions that startups may have on Thursday. This weekend happens to be Startup Weekend happening in Louisville. That'll be located at Story Louisville. Starts with the kickoff Friday evening, ends with pitches of startups created and formed in a weekend Sunday evening. Big, huge news up in Northern Kentucky in Covington. Our Blue North Innovation Hub is hosting the Spark House Entrepreneur Center grand opening. It is beautiful, it is big, it is awesome. So that is on Monday. If you can join us from across the state at 9 a.m. Eastern Time at Spark House, right in downtown Covington. Sprocket has, as we just heard, their Build What Works Lunch and Learn happening next week. Next week, also on Wednesday, Create Startup Garden at Blue Cotton. And then SOAR is hosting their Founder Fit Boot Camp also next week. Hitting up in October, early October, Amplify's monthly Venture Connectors is being held on Wednesday, October 8th, 11:45 at the Kentucky Science Center. And this webinar series will meet again on Tuesday, October 21st. So please make note of those particular dates of interest. And thank you so much for joining us today. We hope everyone has a great day, and we'll see you here for the next in our Startup Resources series. Thanks so much. Bye, everyone.